नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां सकृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तोऽस्ति हि भद्राणि अभिधूनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तदा रजस्तमो भावकामलोभादयश्चेत् चेता एतैरनवविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसिद्धति। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So the previous session, the one before last week, we concluded the session and we also sent out a question to the group. I'm not sure if people who are present today had a chance to see the question or could respond to it. So does anybody remember the question that I had sent to the group on WhatsApp?
It was about importance of hearing. And why is it so important?
It was important. What is the question? Do you remember?
To hear? Lose
Yes.
to hear?
Why would devotees lose their ability to hear Shri?
Yes. Why would devotees lose their ability to hear? Does anybody have an answer to this question as we start off this session? Why do devotees lose their ability to hear? It's very critical. The reason for my asking this question is because the entire premise and the foundation of Srimad Bhagavatam is the thrust and the message that one can attain pure devotional service and one can attain all that is to be attained purely by being able to adhere to the process of hearing. So why would this be? Why would a condition arise where devotees claim that they can't hear?
Is it the offenses they do without their knowledge, or which is it due to that?
Offenses, yes. Devotees lose their ability to hear because of the offenses. What does this do basically? When people stop hearing or lose their ability to hear, what does it do to them?
You lose the interest.
We lose interest. What else?
To make right decisions in life as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but what happens when someone loses their ability to hear?
They get bewildered too.
True, because their progress is completely halted.
Yeah.
The progress in that particular lifetime is halted until they redevelop the urge to hear. Why am I making this statement? Why is it that this statement is so simple and why is it being made so boldly that if someone loses their ability to hear, then they also lose their ability to hold on to the process? They lose their ability to make progress. Why is it that this statement even is being made so boldly? Because the entire premise and the foundation of Srimad Bhagavatam is such that one has to have the ability to hear. And through the process of hearing in Kali Yuga, one has the ability to make progress. So the entire path of progress is directly connected to the path of hearing. Now, the verse which addresses this is verse 16, first canto, second chapter, verse 16. Sushrushoho Shraddadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchihi Shan Mahat Sevaya Vipraha Punyatirtha Nisevanat. Translation: O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. By serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. What does it mean when one makes a statement that a person, a devotee, is completely freed from all vice? Vices as in negative qualities. What does it mean in terms of progress? What exactly do they mean to say here? Where is this devotee who is free from all vice? How does one become free from all vices? Where is this devotee situated?
He focuses on devotional service and more like situated in a transcendental level. In a way, he always thinks of Krishna and how to please Krishna and devotees.
Someone has to be transcendental so that he is freed permanently. Someone has to have gone through an irrevocable change. Someone has to have gone through a change which can't be reversed. And when they're not in touch with matter, then they are free from vice. They are free because they're no longer in touch with the lower modes of nature. They no longer are in touch with the lower modes of nature, the material modes of nature. So when someone serves such personalities, by serving, one develops the affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. By serving, one develops the affinity for hearing the message of Sri Vasudeva. What does it mean? Why does service allow us to develop the affinity to hear the message? Why does service allow us to develop the affinity to hear messages? We spoke about this quite extensively in the previous session, and some of you even got it nicely and you were repeating what we said. So I'm asking this question again because this is critical. If we don't understand why we are attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes, if we don't understand what kind of a component Srimad Bhagavatam is in terms of allowing us to make progress, we would have challenges in being able to move forward. If we don't understand how to process each and every session, don't understand what exactly we are trying to achieve, then we might still achieve things, but yet it would not be with the complete effect simply because we wouldn't know why we are doing what we are doing. So we wouldn't be able to appreciate what's being offered. We wouldn't be eager enough to work on ourselves. So the question is, why does one gain affinity? Why does one gain affinity by serving? How does it happen?
Because I feel like when we serve Vaishnavas, Krishna, we get more mercy from Krishna because he is very pleased because we are devotees.
Okay, so Krishna, we get mercy from Krishna. Okay, so does mercy come from Krishna? That's fine.
I believe that mercy comes from Vaishnavas because they are like highly elevated Vaishnavas, so they give us the mercy.
Yes, true. So Krishna basically has made an arrangement that mercy will come from his devotees.
Yeah.
What else can you share?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Padmavati Nikant
Yes.
Prabhu.
Yes.
Serving requires a mood of humility. So it is a bit difficult to serve without a mood of humility. You have to come to a level to serve. So that humility is very pleasing to the Lord, So
Okay, so serving basically requires humility, but then sometimes humility may not be there while we're trying to work on our service attitude. We could serve and we could be working on ourselves. So the point is, yes, humility is required. Humility allows us to receive the mercy of the Lord. All of you have stated different aspects of the answer. Most importantly, by serving the Vaishnava, we acknowledge the fact that Bhakti Devi is independent. The origin of Bhakti is Bhakti. Bhakti Devi is situated in the hearts of the devotees. Krishna does not control and manage Bhakti. His mercy potency is, of course, Bhakti, but he does not control and manage. So where is she originating from? Bhakti originates from the hearts of the devotees.
yeah.
Bhakti originating from the hearts of the devotees has the ability to travel from their heart into our heart through the process of hearing. When we serve elevated Vaishnavas and when we are very diligent in our service and the Vaishnava becomes pleased, then they develop an attitude of wanting to give us mercy. when their hearts feel like giving us something, automatically from their heart, bhakti transfers herself into our hearts. So the whole process of transfer of bhakti, the beginning of bhakti in our hearts, the process of bhakti originating in our lives starts with coming in touch with someone who has bhakti. And when we serve them, they especially become somewhat, I would say, more benevolent than they normally are. They're very benevolent, but then when we serve them diligently, then they do feel all the more merciful. They want to pass on the mercy of the Lord to us. As a consequence, when they start desiring that we should receive bhakti, bhakti from their heart moves into our heart. Because it's unlimited, because bhakti is not different from Krishna. In other words, Krishna bhakti is not different in that sense.
Hare
But there
Krishna.
is no depletion. Yeah, so go ahead, please.
Prabhu, can I ask, bhakti, can it be from your previous life too?
Yes, but regardless of whether it's from your previous life or it's from the present, it has originated from someone who has had bhakti in their hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, regardless of when it happened. Because in reality, our timeline in our lives is quite insignificant. If you had to really look at our lifetime and lifespan over a long period of time, it's quite insignificant. So when it occurs, is regardless of when it occurs, it has its origin from the heart of another soul who has an abundance of bhakti.
Yes. Yeah.
So regardless of whether we serve that person with complete knowledge of wanting to receive bhakti, or without knowledge but just wanting to serve that person, we can still receive mercy. So there is sukruti, there is blessing which can come with knowledge, and there can be blessings without knowledge. You can receive mercy when you're completely knowledgeable that you're serving someone who is elevated. You can still receive mercy when you have no knowledge that the person is elevated, but yet you feel extraordinarily subservient and want to offer service. So service to the lotus feet of Vaishnavas is the origin of our devotional service. And as a consequence, when one serves a Vaishnava, we develop the affinity to hear. Hearing cannot come unless one is serving a Vaishnava. What do we mean by hearing? What exactly do we mean by hearing? What is hearing? What is the message here in this particular verse? By such service, one gains affinity for hearing. What is hearing? What exactly do we mean when we say hearing? What exactly are we trying to say when we say hearing? When we hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee, Krishna is saying, when we serve a devotee, one gains affinity. What do we mean when we say we gain affinity? What exactly does it mean?
Hare Krishna. Also, hearing is about to develop in the taste, to taste, to hear, and also receive it from heart to heart, the experience.
Taste and experience. What else? What else can you share about affinity for hearing?
We think how we can live. So that's what we can fully connect to the Krishna, and how we can live, listening, taking these pastimes and listening to what is everything, whatever it is there in the Bhagavatam, how we can abide this in our lives. So
okay,
we need to, we need to hear, and then we try to implement. So that's why we are eager. We get desperate. Oh, I want to hear. I want to see what's that and how I can be
implement.
fruitful.
Okay, so here's the important message. Krishna is saying that when one develops the urge to hear, you have to serve a devotee and you develop the affinity to hear. It appears that Krishna is saying that we will develop a certain quality which would allow us to hear. It's almost as if when we come in touch with the devotee, we serve them nicely and they give us mercy, we develop the affinity to hear. So it is almost as if a quality of being able to hear versus katha is given to us. What does it mean? It means that we have the ability to transform our hearing into applied practical knowledge. This whole concept of realizations, when we are hearing a Srimad Bhagavatam class and we are able to relate that Srimad Bhagavatam class points to our lives, we automatically have developed the affinity to process transcendental knowledge and bring it down to an experiential level. Does it make sense? Knowledge in itself, when it is being spoken in a Bhagavatam class, when one reads Srimad Bhagavatam every year, if our chanting has been good, if you have chanted well the previous year, then you would have served well. And if you've chanted and served well, the subsequent year, the ability to hear Srimad Bhagavatam would have increased. But this is what the verse is talking about. The verse is practically saying that if you serve devotees, you'll develop an affinity to hear. So if you have chanted well, you would serve well. And if you have chanted and served well, you would be able to hear. What does this hearing process of Srimad Bhagavatam mean? This affinity means that we can read. Hearing is to hear and also to be able to read scripture and to be able to transform scripture into realizations. Does it make sense that we should be able to take this body of scriptural knowledge and be able to transform it? The ability to transform scriptural knowledge and to be able to apply it at a practical level, this transformative energy, this digestive energy of being able to develop the ability to digest Shastra, which is quite complex, because if our chanting is poor, then we cannot read Srimad Bhagavatam. When the chanting is good and the service is good, then we're able to develop realizations. The same verses in the same chapters in the same canto being read year after year gives a completely different perspective. Does it make sense? That every year it's giving us a completely different perspective. How does it happen that it is giving us a different perspective? Because now we have developed the affinity to hear. We have developed the ability to digest Shastra. When you come in touch with a powerful person who has bhakti in their heart, they have the ability to take their bhakti and give it to us. That bhakti in our heart has the ability to give us the ability to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which essentially means you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, you also read Srimad Bhagavatam, you transform scripture, and you're able to apply it. You can start living Srimad Bhagavatam. The affinity to hear is practically the capacity to digest, transform, and to basically develop realizations on scriptures when we read them. So it's a direct link. You serve nicely, you can chant well. You chant nicely, you serve well. When service and chanting is going on well, then the ability to hear Shastra increases, and the ability to retain Shastric knowledge increases. The ability to digest Shastric knowledge also increases. Does it make sense? The affinity to hear is a gift. It is not a one-time occurrence. It's a gift. The ability to digest Shastra is a gift. It's a gift where one comes in touch and starts living Shastra, because now they're able to understand the real import of Shastra. They're having experiences. As a consequence, they're able to move forward quite measurably in their devotional service. This affinity to hear is a practical gift which comes from hearing from someone who is already well situated. By serving such a person, one develops that affinity. So it's a gift. It's a gift. You know, there were so many Srila Prabhupada disciples who were very young. It is said that they started preaching when they were very young. In other words, there weren't all the books which were made available. Srila Prabhupada was still writing Srimad Bhagavatam. He was still translating. He was still translating Chaitanya Charitamrita. Most of the devotees in the early days of the movement had not even finished one reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what to say of going into other scriptures and gathering knowledge? All of that was not available at all. Then what is it which gave ability to these young devotees who had no previous experience and exposure to Krishna consciousness, for them to be able to read Srimad Bhagavatam, give classes, develop into, in some cases, scholars, Vaishnava scholars, not just scholars. People who had the ability to digest scripture, write scripture, extend it, and also offer dialogues and so on with others. What gave them this ability? This ability came from serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. The affinity to hear came from serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. And by affinity to hear coming from Srila Prabhupada's mission, then they developed the ability to understand and retain scriptural knowledge and to apply it in their lives and to live Srimad Bhagavatam. So this affinity to hear is a gift. It's a lifelong gift. It comes when you serve devotees. It is enhanced when the initiation process begins. This is initiation in reality. The initiation process gives us the ability to understand. Yeah? Some of you who have gone through the first and the second initiation, in the second initiation process, you're given the Gayatri mantras of the Brahmanic Gayatri mantras. When the Brahman initiation, the second initiation is done, one finds that they can understand scripture better. For a gift is given to understand scripture better. So this is practically an experience which one can have. In other words, the affinity to hear has increased. The first initiation is mercy. Second initiation is again mercy. At each and every stage when mercy is given, then the affinity to hear increases. So this is exactly the message which Krishna is giving here. He's saying you serve a devotee, you develop the affinity to hear. In our movement, serving Srila Prabhupada's movement will give us the affinity to hear. By developing the affinity to hear, we will have the ability to digest Shastra. Then we would be able to digest and live Shastra. What is the meaning of digesting? Digesting literally means understanding the core message. Why is it that different Bhagavatam classes sometimes kind of capture our interest in different ways? Some verses become more prominent, some verses become more, I would say, somewhat more, every verse has a tremendous amount of import, but some verses catch our eyes. Some of us have favorite verses. Yeah. How does it happen that Shastra is interacting with us? This is basically the affinity to hear. It is a lifelong gift. It is not a one-time situation. It is not a situation of just hear once and then you're done, and then you serve the devotee and you're done. The gift of being able to digest Shastra is given, and that gift is invaluable. Yeah, that gift is invaluable. It gives us a tremendous amount of ability to digest. Does it make sense? The affinity to hear is a gift, and it's a lifelong gift. It's not a one-time gift. Any questions on this? So now go back to the question that I had written to the WhatsApp group. I had written a question and I asked you, why is it that some devotees lose the ability to hear Srimad Bhagavatam? What does it mean? Go back and understand that question in the context of what I just shared now. If you serve a devotee, you develop the affinity to hear. If you develop the affinity to hear, then you have the ability to read and hear Shastra for your lifetime. Losing the affinity to hear, it results from what? It results from offenses. Because bhakti originates from the devotee's heart. By offending the devotee, one loses their ability to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So in our movement, a very profound truth in our movement is that there is no one in our movement who leaves our movement. People say they left our movement. It is not true. Nobody leaves our movement. Our movement recruits quite openly. We recruit on the streets. We do Harinam. People hear Harinam. They get attracted to Harinam. We distribute prasadam. They get attracted to prasadam. We speak. Sometimes people get attracted to certain speeches. They read books and they come. So we have quite an open recruitment process. We bring in people from all walks of life, and the recruitment is quite open. There is no restriction in the recruitment. We bring people from all walks of life into our movement. And we start off by giving them an equal opportunity. There really isn't any opportunity that is missing. Once you walk in, one has the ability to participate in devotional service fully. Now, what is interesting is people think that they can leave this movement. They can't leave this movement. Nobody leaves this movement. Nobody leaves this movement, devotees. We may assume and we may think we are leaving this movement, but in reality, no one leaves this movement. They are being sent away. They are being sent away. Nobody leaves this movement. Just as much as our recruitment is so open and so easy for so many people to just join, quitting this movement is also quite automatic. It is a process where, unbeknownst to us, we can be thrown away from this movement. A few years down the line, if we find ourselves alone and we find that we don't have devotees around us, we somehow or the other have shut ourselves down to such an extent because of various disappointments, to such an extent that we feel that we don't want to associate, we don't even want to touch prasadam. Please understand that the movement basically is such that we are not able to cope with it. In other words, we don't have the ability to be a part of it. It is no longer a situation of where we have left the movement. The movement has the capacity to recruit and to also let people go. It's very efficient. And that is how a process should be. Someone asked Srila Radhanath Swami a few years back, they asked a question saying, why is it that if our movement is so wonderful, why is it that if Krishna consciousness is so powerful and so amazing, then why is it that so many people are leaving? And Maharaj answered very nicely. He said, don't be surprised by the number of people who are leaving. Be surprised by the number of people who are staying. Mm-hmm. Because our movement is so powerful, and because the Siddhanta is so powerful, the philosophy is powerful, and it is also so exclusive and special, that if you're not on track, we will find ourselves outside of the movement in a few years. No one leaves this movement. They're sent away. They don't know it. No one leaves this movement. And that is the proof given in this particular verse. By serving a devotee, one gains affinity to hear. By gaining the affinity to hear, one strengthens their faith. One chants better, one serves better, one hears better as well. If one loses contact with devotees because of offenses, they do not have the ability to hear. They lose their ability to hear. They lose their ability to hear. They can't hear. And when I'm saying they can't hear, don't look at devotees who are working very, very hard, but don't have much interest in sitting down in classes. They might be basically working and serving Krishna, outside in so many different ways based on their interests. So don't look at them saying that if you're not attending classes, then you're an offender. They're not offenders. It is simply that their taste for Krishna consciousness is situated in such a way that they want to serve Krishna in a certain way. You will find that they have realizations. You will find devotees who are serving very hard. They may not attend classes, they may not do this, but they will be serving day and night. If you talk to them, they will share their realizations, and you will be quite amazed about how deep their realizations are. So we shouldn't really be looking at those who are serving outside saying they're not attending classes, they are not doing this, they're not doing that. So that's not the benchmark or the criterion which I'm talking about. I'm talking about a self-reflection where one leaves the movement. They don't want to serve, they don't want to do anything, they just want to walk away. Basically, you kind of lose their ability to hear. Sometimes devotees tell me this. When I travel around, they tell me, Prabhu, I can't hear anymore. The ability to hear is gone. The ability to hear gone means it's an emergency. Seek help. Talk to whoever is motivating you. Talk to whoever you think is your senior, your mentor, your Siksha Guru, your Diksha Guru. It's an emergency. So it's very important. When there's no motivation to hear the message, when there's no motivation to act, then please do reach out for help, because it's a clear sign that we are veering off the path. This verse is so clear that Krishna is saying, "O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva." One gains affinity. If you lose affinity, which means there's something wrong with our connection with the sadhus, one needs to know. Now, taking off of this particular message of hearing and gaining affinity, giving us the ability to transform Shastra, giving us the ability to read and transform and understand Bhagavatam, giving us the ability to chant better and to serve better, because Bhagavatam is motivating us to chant. And if you chant sincerely, you will serve. The next stage is the next verse. These are the most critical verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because these verses explain the process of how Srimad Bhagavatam purifies us. What is text 17? 1.2.17. Shrunvatam swakata krishnaha punyashravana kirtanaha hridayantostiha badrani vidunoti suhrit satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. What happens here? It says Krishna cleanses the desire for material enjoyment. He starts cleansing the desire. Krishna himself cleanses us. The path of purification is undertaken by Krishna himself when one develops the urge to hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is this process? What is this verse attributing itself to? What is this whole cleansing process called in Sanskrit? What is this stage? In the first stage, there is the coming in touch with sadhu. Atha sadhu sangaha. Then the next stage is bhajana kriya. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam, act on Srimad Bhagavatam. The third stage is anartha nivritti. The third stage is anartha nivritti. That which is meaningless is being discarded. It is purification. Now, this is what this verse is about. This verse is saying you will go through the process of anartha nivritti if you consistently hear Srimad Bhagavatam and are able to apply the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. You will go through the process of anartha nivritti. The whole process of anarthas, unwanted, meaningless stuff from the heart, being thrown away will occur because Krishna himself will intervene. Here it is being said, Krishna himself will intervene. Now, what is the nature of anarthas, devotees? What is our consciousness? When we talk about the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness, what is the category which anarthas would come into?
Passion.
Sorry?
Passion.
Passion. Someone says passion. Why not ignorance?
Yeah, ignorance actually.
Ignorance, okay. Why not the mode of goodness? Even the material mode of goodness, even the material, all of them. Mayapur Madhava is saying all of them, yes. Even the material mode of goodness is contaminated mode of goodness. It is better than passion, it is better than ignorance. When one has desires in the heart, and these desires are tormenting them day and night, they have all kinds of desires of wanting to do things in this world. And it is tormenting them on a day-to-day basis. What is the mode of their consciousness? Which mode are they in? These desires are coming through and they're tormenting them. What mode are they in if someone goes through these experiences?
If it is spiritual, it should be goodness. Well, desires.
Desires in general fall in the category of passion.
Oh, okay.
We develop desires when in passion. We develop desires when we are passionate. We have all kinds of desires when we are passionate. So when we are passionate, very important for us to recognize. When the mode of passion is dominating us, all we need to do is just walk on the streets of the world and we'll develop desires for one object or the other. We will be window shopping in this world all the time if you are in the mode of passion. If you're in the mode of passion, you're going to get all kinds of desires flowing through all the time. When we are in this world, we would be window shopping all the time. We would be doing all kinds of things. We would say, okay, maybe I need this to become happy. Maybe I need that. These thoughts would keep coming as to what we need to achieve and what is required. This is the mode of passion. What happens when these desires don't get fulfilled? What does the devotee experience when the mode of passion produces desires and those desires themselves are smashed? They just don't achieve them. They just don't reach there.
Frustrated, angry.
Frustrated, angry, yes. And which mode does this belong to?
Then they become.
Sorry? If one is frustrated, if one is angry, which mode are they predominated by?
By mode of passion?
Passion basically produces desires.
Yeah.
When passion is not satisfied, it results in frustration and anger. Anger and frustration is ignorance.
Ignorant.
So when passion is not satisfied, it becomes the mode of ignorance. The mode of passion falls down into the mode of ignorance. You know, we constantly hear sometimes in the newspaper, we hear of crimes of passion. Someone kills someone because they just couldn't have them. They couldn't fulfill their desires. See, this is a crime of passion, where it descends from passion of wanting something, desiring something, becoming frustrated because of attachments, not being able to get what they wanted, then you slip into ignorance. One becomes depressed, one becomes down, one starts experiencing melancholy because nothing is working out in life. Passion turns into frustration and ignorance. This is ignorance. So predominantly, passion turns into the mode of ignorance. The objective of the process of sadhana is to slowly, steadily bring us from the platform of passion and ignorance to the platform of goodness. The objective of sadhana is to bring us to the platform of goodness. Which mode are we functioning in when we are at work? When we are at work, when you're in your office, what do you see in the office? Which mode are you functioning in? We work in passion, yes?
Yeah, passion.
Passion, because without passion, one can't really achieve much, because you are wanting and you're being forced to create. You're being pushed to work so that you could achieve things and you could manifest for the future. This is passion. Now, what is the mode that you need for you to chant?
Goodness.
Yeah. So every day you start your day with goodness. You hold on to your bead bag and you're starting your day with goodness. You reach the point of being able to situate yourself in goodness after almost 2 hours of sadhana. And then you go into the office and you immediately are asked to downgrade so that you could function in the office, because the environment is filled with passion. Passion is in the environment. Ignorance is in the environment. The moment we go there, we start latching on to what is basically the modes of nature which are predominating the office environment. So our going to work after sadhana in the morning is somewhat similar to an elephant having a bath, where it goes into water, has a shower, has a nice bath, and then steps out of the water and then picks up mud and starts sprinkling mud on itself. This is compared to an elephant having a bath, which is, there's no point in having the bath in the first place because you're going to be sprinkling mud on yourself, which is what they say. It's just an example. It's an analogy of having an elephant having a bath. This is exactly what happens to us. So over a period of time, for most part, we struggle with our sadhana even after 20 years of sadhana, because we are constantly changing and switching from an environment which is conducive to an environment which is not conducive. We spend the day in an environment which is not conducive. We come back home to an environment which is conducive. You spend 20 years switching these environments. At the end of 20 years, you feel you have not done much at all in terms of achievements spiritually. So what is the solution for this? What is the solution? Anartha nivritti is a process. It is a process which takes the soul from being situated in passion and ignorance and situates us at the highest levels of the material mode of goodness. At the highest levels of the material mode of goodness. At the highest levels of the material mode of goodness, we are satisfied to a large extent. Because we are satisfied, we don't desire. Because we don't desire, most of our energy goes into chanting of Harinam. When we wake up in the morning, we don't have 100 thoughts flowing into our mind saying you have to achieve this and you have to do this and you have to do that. You end up doing things purely from the perspective of being able to, I would say, completing your sadhana for most days. At the process of anartha nivritti, once it's done, and the soul is elevated from passion and ignorance to the mode of goodness, then one experiences bliss. One experiences a different kind of bliss. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. You're almost at the gates of the liberated platform. Almost, not quite there. There's still some contamination. It is still the mixed modes of goodness, but it is predominating goodness. For most part, the person is situated in the mode of goodness. And at that point in time, there's peace. There is no agitation from different desires. And then one is able to hear Harinam. Then Nama gets into the heart, and first Krishna appears in the heart as Nama, and then he appears as himself in the two-arm form. First he appears in the heart as Krishna Nama, then he appears as Krishna, because they are non-different. But first, one needs to elevate themselves to the platform of goodness. So the whole objective of sadhana bhakti is for us to be able to adjust our lifestyles and to develop desires, to unplug from our activities to such an extent that the activities of the day and the night don't impact but contribute predominantly to the process of sadhana bhakti. When one is able to situate themselves in such a way, after achieving what they need to achieve, being very objective in their achievements, saying that all I want to do is situate myself in such a way that I can contribute to my sadhana. If you have such a desire, life will change. Krishna will help. And you will be situated in such circumstances where, for most part of the day, whatever you do is retained and you take it on to the next day. You don't go and then splash yourself with mud. Whatever you do is retained and then you bring it to the next day. Krishna will help. The process of anartha nivritti is the process of being able to slowly, steadily reach the platform where we are not going to have desires that are not in line with the desires of our acharyas. It is a very, very, very peaceful, blissful condition. It's an extraordinarily peaceful condition. It's very peaceful even to just think of the fact that all you want to do is basically just follow through with what the acharyas, what the Guru Varga want you to do. Imagine if you have just few desires. Imagine if you only have the desire of wanting to serve. The only desire you have is to associate. The only desire you have is to chant. The only desire you have is to reach Srimad Bhagavatam and to serve and to stay in Vraj and to engage in Murti Seva. If these are your only desires, that in itself is glorious because it will be very peaceful. That in itself is an extraordinarily peaceful condition. If you tame your heart, if you tame ourselves and tame our life in such a way that these are the only desires that we carry from one day to another, then what would happen is Krishna would grant those desires. When we become single-pointed in just having these desires, Krishna will grant those desires because he will see that we are serious. And we will find that everything else we are experiencing in life is going to contribute towards that kind of a lifestyle. When that lifestyle emerges, where we are able to contribute fully, and our hearts are also free from distractions, then every day our contributions to pure devotional service increases. then the process of accelerating from one level to another is quite straightforward. This is not a forced condition. It is not a circumstance that you can force yourself into. This is basically the process of desiring. Wherever we are today, individually, we have desired the present. Please acknowledge this. Please acknowledge this. When you look at your face in the mirror in the morning, understand that the day has been arranged by you from the past. 20 years back, there were desires to live in a certain way, and you are living that way now. The extent to which your desires could be fulfilled were fulfilled. The extent to which they could not be fulfilled, they could not be fulfilled. But one way or the other, we desire the present. So the point is, if you can desire the present by desiring from the past, why not desire the future? Why not focus on the future? This is the whole purpose of sadhana. The whole idea is to come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, come in touch with someone who has no other desires, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and then reading Srimad Bhagavatam and processing Srimad Bhagavatam, because we have developed such an affinity, and chanting, we automatically develop the ability to clean our hearts. Krishna himself cleanses our heart. When Krishna starts cleansing our heart, we then develop the ability to hear more, serve more, and to chant more. Very soon we are situated in goodness. What is the process? Why is it that our process of Krishna consciousness is so efficient? Anybody? What is it that we are doing? Remember this point. We are spirit souls. We are pure by nature. We are coming in touch with matter when we go into an environment which is predominated by the modes of nature. When an environment is predominated by when an environment is predominated by the passion, ignorance, and so on, we absorb those qualities. What is it which is allowing us to elevate ourselves? Anybody? How is it possible that coming in touch with Bhagavatam, coming in touch with Krishna's names, chanting, is elevating ourselves? How is it helping? This is scientific. I just want you to understand what's happening so that you would know how to increase it.
The contamination, it will be cleared by chanting. That's what we say to everybody whenever you chant, and then you will feel it. You will feel the experience. So
the contamination is clear, but what is it which clears the contamination when you chant? My question is more in terms of what is it that you're coming in touch with which is so powerful that it is clearing up the contamination?
It's holy name, Krishna himself.
Good. This is the answer. Yeah, this is exactly the answer I was wanting to hear. Our process is not a process where we have to artificially work harder to reach the higher levels. Our process is very simple. Krishna is all-powerful. He is the summum bonum. He is transcendence. When we constantly come in touch with this transcendental personality, when we come in touch with Krishna, we automatically also develop such qualities. The process of Krishna consciousness is a very simple, straightforward process, which in different ways wants to bring us in touch with Krishna. It brings us in touch with Krishna through sadhus. It brings us in touch with Krishna through his holy names. It brings us in touch with Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam, bringing us in touch with Krishna through reciting and being and visiting the Dham, bringing us in touch with Krishna through coming in touch with his deity form. Our process is very simple. Krishna is the summum bonum. Krishna is the source of all transcendence. He is the source of all avatars. All we need to do is effectively position ourselves so that we could come in touch with him efficiently in such a way that by coming in touch with him, he's going to influence us in a very powerful way, which is going to transform us. It's very simple. So when we are coming in touch with Krishna several times during the day, during different things, especially in the morning program, we wake up, we worship the Guru, we come in touch with the deities, we engage in Tulsi Puja, we engage in chanting of the holy names, we engage in basically chanting and engaging in the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the entire morning program is done, you will notice that they are actually fulfilling the 5 different principles of devotional service in a very powerful way. When we come in touch with that power on a daily basis, it has the ability to slowly, steadily bring us back in order. There's a reason for the necessity for frequent contact. That's the reason for the necessity for the morning program. The necessity for the morning program is it is a very powerful way for us to come in touch with Krishna in his different aspects. And by doing so, very efficiently, we are purifying ourselves of contamination, and we are slowly, steadily bringing ourselves to the platform of goodness. This is the process. So let's just hear these verses. The first verse here is Chinvatam Swata Krishnaha Punyashravana Kirtanaha Hridayantostihi Badrani Vidunoti Sukhritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee. He cleanses desire for material enjoyment. Material enjoyment and the desire for material enjoyment is simply being in touch with passion and ignorance. He is cleansing us from the influence of passion and ignorance. The inauspiciousness is from passion and ignorance. He is removing it. His messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Let's look at the next verse. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. I have 2 questions here. The first question is, why is it being said? What is troublesome to the heart? What is troublesome to the heart, devotees? What exactly is troublesome to the heart?
Material desires, Prabhu?
Material desires yes, material desires are troublesome to the heart. Passion and ignorance are troublesome to the heart. When one is in ignorance, they're thinking about the past. If the past has not been glorious, they could be depressed. They could be going through all kinds of challenges. When one is in passion, they're constantly worried about the future. They are in anxiety about the future. So when one is in depression, worried, or rather depressed and in melancholy, sad about what transpired in the past, or one is anxious about the future, they can't be happy. The state of happiness is the mode of goodness. And in that state, one is in the present. One is able to appreciate the present. So by constantly coming in touch with Krishna, he is eliminating passion and ignorance. He is removing all that is troublesome to the heart. And he is almost completely destroying it. There is still some remnants. So what does this mean in terms of elevation of consciousness? What does this mean in terms of elevation of consciousness if this world is made of this world is made of ignorance, passion, and goodness? Where do you think the consciousness of this verse is pointing to? Is it in the material world? Almost completely destroyed. So passion and ignorance are almost completely destroyed, which means one can still come in touch with them, but they are very minor. So is this devotee described in this verse, is the consciousness of this devotee in this world, or is it in the next? Is it a part of material world or outside?
Outside.
If something, sorry, go ahead, please. Sorry, finish, please.
Said outside. It's not material world if you're not disturbed.
If you're not disturbed, you're not in the material world. Well, it says almost completely destroyed. So since the word almost completely destroyed is being used, this verse refers to the fact that by constant hearing, one goes through the process of anartha nivritti. whilst going through the process of anartha nivritti, and they are freed from all the troublesome nature of desires that are not connected to Krishna, then they become peacefully situated, but they are not outside of this material world. That's the reason for using the word almost completely destroyed. They're still in touch with the material world. There is still some passion, there's still some ignorance which is associated, but it is predominated by goodness. They are predominated by goodness. For most part, they are situated in the platform of goodness, but there's a very slight contamination of passion and ignorance. Then why does this verse talk about service to Krishna being established as an irrevocable fact? What do you need for you to serve irrevocably? What do you need to serve irrevocably?
It's faith and surrender.
Faith and surrender. Okay. What else do you need? Let's assume. Sorry. And what's the other answer?
Taste for the service.
Taste for service. What else? What do you need for you to establish service as an irrevocable fact?
The love.
Okay. Someone is getting closer. Okay. Who is this? It's okay. Don't worry. I don't want to embarrass you. It's okay. It's okay. So, it's okay. So, basically, to establish irrevocable service, you need love, yes?
Yeah.
What else do you need? What is it that makes you love nicely? What is it which makes us properly situated in the platform of love and affection to Krishna? Sambandha. So basically the idea is that we basically would need to have information about our relationship with Krishna. This verse is telling us that if we come in touch with Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the lips of a pure devotee, and also being able to serve Nama, being able to serve the deity form and wanting to develop desires to live in Sri Vrindavan Dham and Mayapur, when all of this is happening so wonderfully, we would also, as we elevate ourselves, reach a point where we would receive information about our eternal relationship. At the highest stages of giving up desires of this world, when we are free from anarthas, when we are almost completely free from the effects of previous karma, we will also receive information about who we are in the spiritual sky. If you want to establish anything, you need a relationship. If you do not know who you are in relationship to another person, how would you love them? How would we imagine loving Krishna and serving him if we do not know who is Krishna in relationship to us? If we do not know if we have an attraction for Krishna as a cowherd boy, if we do not know if we have attraction for Krishna as a servant who is situated at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, if we do not know if we have attraction for Krishna because we are associated with the servants in Vrindavan, or if we do not know we are attracted to Krishna because we are associated with the older generation of devotees in Vrindavan like Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, etc. If you do not know your relationship with Krishna, how can you establish irrevocable service? Uninterrupted service is possible when you have an identity. When your identity with Krishna is established, then irrevocable service is established as well. Because now you know you have a relationship with him. Because you know you live in Vrindavan eternally, and you know your name, you know who is taking care of you there, you know what kind of service you do, you understand your attraction for Krishna, irrevocable service is established. Does it make sense that for us to serve, we need to know who we are? Because you can't serve anyone and you can't love anyone without knowing your relationship with that person. How efficient would it be for you to love someone without knowing the relationship? It's not possible. It's not possible. You can't serve irrevocably if you do not know your relationship. If someone has to serve as a father, he has to know that the person is a father. Then he would know what duties are required as a father. If someone has to serve in a certain capacity, a professional capacity in an organization, they should know what is their relationship with that organization. Are they serving in this department? Are they serving in X department, Y department? What is their title? Who is working for them? What is expected of them on a day-to-day basis? If you did not know all of this, how will you serve? Irrevocable devotional service can't be established without sambandha, without knowing who you are in relationship to Krishna. That fact of who we are in relationship to Krishna is revealed to us when we transfer and move out of the process of anartha nivritti. When all that is meaningless, unrelated to Krishna, is thrown out of the heart by coming in touch with Krishna in different ways, then we reach the platform of coming to the platform of steadiness. At the platform of steadiness, we also start having an understanding of who we are in Krishna's service. Not fully, but in different stages, progressively. The acceleration from there on is quite rapid. It's very rapid. So irrevocable fact, service is established as irrevocable fact. Bhagavatam is saying Krishna will remove the dirt from our heart. By removing the dirt, automatically we will develop knowledge. We will develop knowledge. Have anybody gone through the process of, for example, coming in touch with our movement and then slowly getting initiated and coming in touch with your spiritual master? Do you remember the transition of knowing that you belong to someone when you found that you are attracted to a spiritual master and the spiritual master accepts you? Have you found the transition? Have you experienced it? That is an amazing transition. Yeah. When you find that you are attracted to a spiritual master, the spiritual master accepts you, then it gives you an identity in ISKCON, in devotional service. You have a guru. Then you start understanding your God family. Then you start understanding the service of your guru. Then you start understanding how to serve him nicely. There is so much which we gain by coming to the platform of understanding who we are in relationship to our guru. The same applies to Krishna. Irrevocable devotional service is established only when we understand who we are to Krishna. The whole process of devotional service is a progression to achieve that end. It's exciting. It is really exciting, and there's so much to look forward to. If there's any activity where you can put in 100% of your effort, it is this. If there's any activity in the world where it's worthwhile to put in 100% of your effort, you will not regret it, it is this. Because it is exciting. You are going to go from a stage of not knowing your connection to God to knowing who you are, which street, and what's your name in the spiritual world. That is the power of Harinam. That is the power of what we have been given by our acharyas. They are practically picking us up, taking out our ignorance, and giving us complete knowledge so that we could serve wonderfully. Irrevocable devotional service requires an identity in the spiritual world. Irrevocable means it cannot be reversed. Unless you develop an eternal relationship, it can be reversed. The relationships of this world can be reversed. When the world is destroyed, when our body is destroyed, this is gone. Irrevocable devotional service is when there is an eternal identity, and we discover that eternal identity by the process of this devotional service. It already exists. It is said that it is like a lotus. Each time you chant, each time you do something nice, when you're consistently engaging in devotional service, the lotus starts blooming in the heart. When the lotus is blooming, it is going to reveal nature. It's going to reveal your eternal nature. It's going to tell you who you are. Then devotional service is irrevocably established. That's what this verse is. Now, do you realize why we chant these verses every day during Srimad Bhagavatam class? 1.2.17, 1.2.18. Now let's read 1.2.19. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadayasche cheteter anaviddham stitam sattve prasiddhati As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effect of nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. Because now passion and ignorance have no place. This is outside of the material world. Verse 17, almost there. Verse 18, you're already there. So between 16 through 18, between 16 through 19, in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, they're giving you the entire process of how this is going to take you from one stage to the other. It starts with developing an urge to hear. It starts with serving devotees. It starts with receiving mercy. From that point on, it takes you all the way to be completely free from the modes of passion, ignorance, and to be situated in Krishna's service as an irrevocable fact, because now you know who you are in relationship to Krishna. Now the love can't stop. How can you stop loving him when you know of your relationship? How can you stop loving him when you know how you're going to serve him on a day-to-day basis? Look at your watch and it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Vraj. You will immediately recon saying, this is the service that I ought to do. Look at your watch, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in Nandagaon. Krishna is getting ready. It's early morning. They are going to leave with the cows to the forests of Vrindavan. I have to get ready. I have to go meet with him. This is early in the morning. When you look at your watch, this irrevocable devotional service is established when the relationship is established. This relationship is established when we reach pure goodness. Pure goodness is a matter of coming in touch with Krishna consistently through different ways of devotional service. Come in touch with him to come in touch with sadhus. Come in touch with him through Naam. Come in touch with him through Srimad Bhagavatam. Come in touch with him by visiting the Dham. Come in touch with him by worshipping the deity. When you consistently do it day in and day out, desiring to develop this relationship, then the relationship will develop. The process of coming in touch with your spiritual master, getting initiated once, getting initiated twice, all of this is a matter of different milestones and stages to facilitate the ultimate goal of developing an irrevocable, loving devotional service and a relationship with Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam has captured the whole process in 5 verses. Phenomenal, isn't it? It is so clear in 5 verses. They have just captured everything. That's the reason why we chant these verses every day before beginning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Okay, so I'll stop here for today. And in the next week, we'll go on to understanding chapter 1.3, which is basically first canto, 3rd chapter, where we establish Krishna as supreme. So any questions and comments, please?
Yes. Prabhu, Padmavati Nitai I wanted to ask you, why do we get hurt for slightest, with slightest thing, but sometimes you don't get hurt, even something major? Or why is that? I don't know whether this is a spiritual question. Sometimes I find difficult to understand this, and then so that's what I thought I would ask you.
So your question is, why do we sometimes feel hurt with things which are somewhat petty?
Yes.
And sometimes we are able to somehow understand things which are more, I would say, more deep and more, I would say, profound, where we don't feel that bad. So that's your question. Why does this happen?
Yes, thank you.
See, it's a matter of, there isn't, to be honest, there isn't a general answer. There isn't. And the reason why there isn't a general answer is because in some cases, based on the karmic reactions we bring into this world, we are situated in such a way that we are basically going to be more sensitive. We're going to be more sensitive. We're going to be more sensitive in certain ways compared to the other aspects of life. So there's a certain magnification which can occur to us in certain aspects of life, while we may not be that bothered by aspects of life which other people could think of as very profound. So this is a very, I would say, there isn't a general answer because these are particular experiences. Because you can't really give a generalized answer as to why we would feel that something is not so important, but yet it hurts so much. But at times we feel something which is profoundly should disturb us, doesn't disturb us. There isn't a general answer because based on our karmic reactions, certain aspects of our life are magnified and certain aspects of our life are also dulled down. But we are heavily managed. I can tell you that much, that we are quite well managed in terms of learning from all of this if we are wanting to consistently desire Krishna consciousness on a daily basis. So if you were to sit down and ask Krishna and your Guru Maharaj on a daily basis to engage you in service, then that particular day, the experiences that you go through could be very revealing in terms of what you need to learn from them. That's the other way to look at it as well. So if you're already offered prayers, then you have the ability to look back and say, I asked for it, so I got it. Now let me understand why I felt the way I felt. Krishna is telling me something out of it. Does it make sense?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sure. What is the other question? So Mayapur Prabhu has written a question in reference to Guru Ashtaka. How can we connect with Guru through the prayers? There are qualities that I see in my Guru Maharaj clearly, which the prayer talks about, but how can this be deepened? It is not an artificial process, Prabhu. It is not an artificial process. If you really want to understand the qualities of an elevated soul, a senior Vaishnava, then one needs to also increase in their consciousness. So as one's consciousness deepens and we expand our consciousness, we go beyond where we are, then we can see things clearly. So that's the reason why it is said that if you want to understand someone who is elevated, you can't really understand them unless we ourselves are elevated. So that's the answer. Because when you read the Guru prayers and you see the qualities in your spiritual master, each and every day, those qualities will be even more clear if our sadhana is good. So the point I'm trying to make is it's a matter of how we evolve. And as we evolve, we would also see the truth. Sometimes it really surprises me. It really surprises me sometimes. And the way it surprises me is that devotees at times discuss Prabhupada's eternal form on Facebook. And there's a tremendous amount of back and forth that goes on that he was this and he was that. And it's quite surprising to me. It's quite surprising to me because it is not a trivial matter to know who your guru is in the spiritual sky. As much as it is not a trivial matter to know who we are in the spiritual sky in Krishna's relationship. One can't imagine that they can know their guru or themselves trivially by discussions. It doesn't help. The only way for us to know who we are in relationship to Krishna is through chanting. And the same process will also reveal who our guru is, if you're so fortunate. So there's another question from Vishal. Okay, sorry, I already answered that. I was a bit confused there. From Parthasarthi Prabhu. How will I know who is supposed to be my guru? The answer is, if you don't already know who your guru is, then I would advise that you offer prayers to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada will reveal who your guru is over a period of time. It's a natural process. But how do I recognize if someone is my spiritual master? If you hear classes from someone, and those classes motivate you so much in Krishna consciousness that we begin transforming ourselves on a day-to-day basis in Krishna consciousness, then understand that that person has the ability to transform you. If such a person is also initiating within the rules of the institution that you belong to, then it might be wise for you to seek a meeting with him and have a discussion and express your interest, saying that he is motivating you through his classes and so on. That's the other way to do it. The other way is to recognize if someone is motivating you, because Krishna motivates us through his servants. When someone speaks and the speech attracts us, it is because Krishna is attracting us through that person. If such a person is also situated in an ability to take on a formal position of a guru, then you can approach such a person, have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Until then, if their
Thanks,
attraction has
Prabhuji.
not developed,
Yeah.
then you should pray to Srila Prabhupada.
Okay. And even if the person is very younger to you and you feel Amrendra Prabhu, we both of us listen to Amrendra Prabhu's class. He's from USA only. And whenever we listen to his class, it's like we can't stop listening to it, and we get so much attached, like whatever things what he's saying. So he is very younger. He's like 23 years old. Still, like we are elder to him, he can still become a guru.
Well, see, Krishna is attracting you through different devotees. If Amarendra Prabhu is one such devotee who is attracting you, then Krishna is attracting you through him. But what I'm saying is that you can be attracted through multiple devotees around the world. One of them will become your Diksha Guru. Do you understand? So
Yes.
it's a matter of who can give you Diksha. So it's also a matter of that happening. The person should also be able to guide you as a Diksha Guru as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because some devotees, for example, play the role of Siksha. They can attract you, they can motivate you in devotional service, but they may not be situated in the position to give you Diksha. Do you understand? So there's a little bit of a difference. You should continue hearing classes so that you can be motivated in your service.
All right. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Any other question or comment before we end the class?
Prabhuji, can you as you have we have gone through this 1.5 hour class, it will be if you give some homework, like some sort of thing for us also to do it for this 1 week, so we can just go through the Bhagavatam chapter.
Yes. Yeah, I would send out questions on the Bhagavatam group on WhatsApp.
All right.
Okay, which is what I did the last time. So I'm requesting that you pay attention to that particular WhatsApp group, because then what I will do is I will check your understanding through those questions, and there can be some further discussions in that on the WhatsApp group as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure. So then there's another question. Should we be trying to know our Swarup even in this life? That is the whole purpose of sadhana bhakti. The whole purpose of sadhana bhakti is to situate ourselves eventually in a position to understand who we are in relationship to Krishna. So should we try? That's what we're trying to do. But doing that very nicely will naturally lead us to be able to understand who we are. It's not an artificial process. Any other question, comment? Okay, so we'll end here, and we will meet again the following week. Until then, I'll try and see if I can send out a couple of questions or comments on the WhatsApp group that I would encourage all of you to participate in to the best of your ability. This way we would keep in touch through the week. You can ask other questions as well, either by writing directly to me on WhatsApp. It's easier for me to communicate on WhatsApp. It's very difficult to communicate on email because of internet speeds and so on. So you can write to me and I would be happy to assist you as well. So until then, we'll meet again next week. Thank you for joining me. Shri Prabhupada ki.